What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we will be going over things about legends and its units that you either didn't know or a bunch of common misconceptions about each one. So before we dive into the video, if you're new, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. We upload videos basically every day for the most part, so that notification bell will come in very handy. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So, number 11. LF Super Baby 2's Gage. Super Baby 2 is a ridiculously good unit who is mostly known for his unique gauge, aside from just how good he is as an overall unit. Now, when it comes to his gauge, people tend to confuse what it does when it fills up. So, first of all, it can be filled up by taking any form of damage, and of course, getting hit by any green card as well, like melee or wide range. So those are the only two types of green cards he will be affected by. And then same thing with Rising Rushes, assuming that he actually survives it. But yeah, so then basically it seals your main ability, removes your vanish, reduces ki, and destroys 2 cards as opposed to your entire hand, which I still see a bunch of people thinking that it does. So, you know, I mean, but obviously, if you're the man, the myth, the legend, Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, you could just switch out and, you know, then just, you know, get around that. But obviously, since you're not G4, sorry, what I meant by switching out was, I meant when you use his main ability, he is immune to card destruction and ki reduction. So that's one way to get around it. And just switching restores your advantage, gives you ki, gives you cards for the most part. But yeah, and then since it seals your Rising Rush, it also makes it difficult to take out Super Baby 2 with a full gauge, since he also reduces damage inflicted. Well, enemies damage inflicted. So yeah, so it prevents you from doing as much damage as you normally would. But of course, once again, if you're UG4, you could also, you know, like still one-shot him with that ultimate. But yeah. And now for coming in at number 10, LF Tag Gamma 1 and 2's Tag Switch. Now, the biggest misconception here is that you're able to tag switch back into Gamma 2 after the ultimate has been used. Now, obviously, this is false to you if you play Legends, well, or at least if you know what you're doing when you play Legends, and of course, if you also have any bit of common sense, since Gamma 2 is dead after his ultimate has been, you know, unleashed the Core Breaker. Literally one-to-one reference with the movie. So basically, because of that, you know, well, if he's dead, I don't really see how you're going to be able to tag switch. And plus, it's also in his kit. Literally says after the ultimate has been unleashed, you cannot switch anymore. Since, if I'm not wrong, yeah, it just gives you like a normal. I don't know if you can even click it, because I've not used the tag gammas in a while. But all I'm about to say is that you cannot tag switch. That's basically it, because I've actually seen a God rank player one time, not me by the way, just letting you know, not me, but a God rank player tapping the character icon after the ultimate has already been used, which is kind of stupid, but I mean, who knows, it's probably just an honest mistake considering that it's a God rank player. So yeah. Anyway, coming in at number 9, we have Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's counter blue card. Now, we all know just how ridiculous Gohan is. He was named Rat Han for a reason, because he really is a rat, Han. And, you know, he has super annoying abilities. For example, he has that counter gauge, he has endurance, he has the armor break, or basically, sorry, blast armor nullification. Yeah, so that's also pretty annoying because he can actually stop your ultimates, your blue cards, and your green cards, and also your strike cards dead in their tracks if you try to go at them. And plus, it just shows you a little, like, you know, glass shattering animation, just so that you know that you were hit with an armor breaking card. So it really just makes it much worse for you. But yeah, anyway, and then, so aside from that, right, the main thing is his blue card. So his blue card can counter a lot of things, right? But a lot of people tend to forget what it can counter. So it can counter wide range green cards, aka AoE green cards. It can also counter, so basically any card that would possibly knock you back to long range would be counterable, I guess you could say, with Gohan's blue card. He can also counter ultimates with a blue card, but his gauge can't do anything against an ultimate, as it's too powerful for him to be able to counter. And the thing is, with Rising Rushes, right, I'm not sure if that counts for Rising Rushes, but I think that if you get close enough, it can bypass the blue card. But yeah, but I'm assuming that from mid-range and long-range, the blue card should be able to go through the Rising Rush. So yeah, that is for Ultra Gohan. Now, coming in at number 8, Ultimates can actually counter Rising Rushes under certain conditions, because realistically this will sound pretty stupid, especially if you know how to play the game, because think about it, right? If an Ultimate Arts card goes against a Rising Rush, assuming that it's melee, right? If it's a forward charging ultimate, right, it would, will obviously be overpowered by the Rising Rush. But of course, assuming that the ultimate is already too close to you, then your Rising Rush won't work. Because here's the thing, right? That's what people tend to do, right? They tend to make you waste your Vanish, right? And then go for an ultimate, like an ultimate at close range, because they know that you can't really do anything. And the only time that would work, right, is if the ultimate, right, registers first. So if the ult registers after the Rising Rush, then it will be overpowered by the Rush as usual. By the ultimate will still be overpowered by the Rush, unless the ultimate unless it's activated prior to the Rush being registered. So that's basically it. And remember, there are a lot of ways you could use this to your benefit in PvP. Anyway, so now that that's done, coming in at number 7. Now, when it comes to Legends events, there is a certain pattern that a lot of people tend to forget, right? So the major events, right, being the anniversary and Legends Festival, right, will always start on the 25th of whatever month they occur in. Yeah, but basically, because here's the thing, the anniversaries have almost always started on the 25th, considering that technically the anniversaries are one day late, given that Legends officially released to the public on May 24th, 2018, right, 2018, but the anniversaries are always on the 25th, and same with Legends Fest. For the past 5 or so years, 5 or even 6 years, Legends Fest has been, taking place on the 25th of November, preferably around Thanksgiving break, since, sorry, not Thanksgiving break, Thanksgiving. I'm still talking about break from when I was in school, but yeah. Anyway, so Thanksgiving time, because, people are going to be spending more, so this is the best time for them to make money off of it. But anyway, so that's basically when they start, right? And then the anniversaries, right, tend to be slightly longer than Legends Fest, right, ending halfway, so like the first week of August, right, the first 2 weeks or so of August, while Legends Fest, right, always starts within the first week of January. Sorry, the end in the first week of January, and that's basically it. Yeah, so, but the anniversary this time has been a little bit longer due to the after party also being considered part of the 6th anniversary with the release of Omega Shenron and Rage Shenron and all the super cool events we got during that time. But yeah, so now that you know that, you'll be able to plan out your saving strategy, because you need SCC for these giant events. Anyway, coming in at number 6. So this one will be another PvP related tip. You may have known that when you constantly float back in a match, once you're at long range, right, and you start floating back a little bit more, it starts to take away your Vanish and reduce your ki. Well, it does do that for a few reasons. Now, there is a practical reason and, of course, a history behind this. So the practical reason is, of course, to avoid, a passive playstyle, and they, wanted to be more proactive in PvP and be more aggressive, actually, actively playing the game, right? And not being like the counter guy who just waits for attacks, PVs, and counterattacks. They don't like that, so they purposely did this to prevent that. But then, of course, the history, right, goes back to around the time when the original Super Saiyan Namek Goku dropped in Legends, the LF. So basically with his counter blue card, he could counter, well, it's literally Ultra Gohan's blue card. But the thing is that back then, right, people love to abuse this card to such an extent that, they just stay back and they, just, like, if you were not playing with good enough units, you basically get one shot with his blue card, and it was like certain death unless you had that same, Goku unit. But so of course, a few months later, Legends decided to fix that, and now they're going to, now they would punish you for trying to slow it back too much. But then, of course, there's a newer update to that, which luckily has not been implemented into PvP, where they would, basically start greatly reducing your vanish and your ki if you started floating back at all during the match, like during the starting parts of the match, which would be super annoying because what if you just want to back up to prevent yourself from getting hit by a wide range green card, right, frame 1. So, if you want to avoid that, then you're going to have to be punished for that specific Battle Royale season. Luckily, that's not been implemented in the game. But yeah, so now you know. Anyway, make sure you let me know down below what you guys think of the new change and whether you'd actually want it to be implemented in the game. Now, number 5. Now, we all know the different ways of acquiring characters in the game. The most obvious ones are summons, events, missions, and even more rarely, adventures. So, of course, we know that basically every unit in the game gives you another chance to pull them or acquire their Z-Power after their initial banners, missions, events, and adventures, etc., have ended. But what if I told you that there was one unit that will basically never come back? So once you have them, you can never get more stars on them, and if you didn't get them, then they're basically gone for good. And this is, of course, the Red Zenkai base Vegito from the Buu Saga. Now, the reason why I say he's impossible to acquire is because after his initial event ended, he has not come back for over 2 years. And the problem is that, he's event exclusive, so you can't summon for his Z-Power either. And his Awakening Z-Power also does not have a summon for it, as it was entirely based on an event, which means that you still cannot get his Awakening Z-Power. So if you don't have him 14 starred and fully Zenkai'd, you're kind of out of luck because, well, you cannot get him after that. Anyway, coming in at number 4. So this one will be about Zenkai units, more about them. So as we all know, all Zenkai units have a special ability called the Zenkai ability. If a unit is fully Zenkai'd, they will have a Zenkai ability 4. This Zenkai ability will obviously provide buffs to your entire team, while the Zenkai buff unit is on standby. Now, we all know this, but did you know that every extreme unit only buffs extremes and, of course, certain tags along with the extreme tag? So, basically, for example, extreme first form Frieza, right? What else? Then we also have extreme Nappa, who's another unit that can only buff extreme units, which is kind of dumb, to be honest, because, well, there are quite a few extreme Zenkais, and the fact that they only buff themselves is honestly surprising. And then also extreme Raditz, extreme semi-perfect Cell, extreme imperfect Cell, extreme Vegeta from the Frieza Saga, extreme Future Gohan, extreme Evil Buu, extreme Beerus, extreme what's his name, Krillin. Oh my god, how did I forget his name? But yeah, those are all the extreme Zenkais in the game, and they do not buff anybody who is not an extreme. Yeah, so they do not buff anybody that's not extreme, which is honestly surprising, but yeah. Oh yeah, and also I forgot to mention Extreme Android 18 and Extreme Android 17 and Extreme Captain Ginyu. Yeah, they all buff extremes. And obviously, to prove that, we can check this out, because when we go to Legends, right, and then we look at, the extreme characters, which I currently have pulled up on the screen, and let's just click a random one. Pure Evil Buu. Ability, Zenkai ability. Okay, well, correction. Apparently not every extreme unit does that, but a vast majority of them only buff extreme units, with the only exceptions, a few exceptions actually, being Pure Evil Boo, the gray skinny Boo, because Beerus, Nappa, First Form, Frieza, Krillin, they all buff extreme units, and I'm currently checking each one, and let's see what Gohan has. He also buffs extreme units. What about First Form Cell? Okay, so First Form, well, Imperfect Cell also buffs units that are not necessarily extreme, so that's two exceptions. And same with the Android 18. And now, if we check Android 17, he also doesn't buff. So that means only 4 extreme units that do not buff only extremes. So I guess I learned something new today in this, this video as well, because Captain Ginyu also only buffs extreme units, which is also pretty neat. So yeah, the more you know, right? Alright, so that's that. Anyway, so as I was saying, so yeah, now you know. Now you can actually put some of these units on your teams as Zenkai buffs. And also, I forgot to mention, the Legends Road units, this one truly only buffs other Legends Road units, which also kind of sucks a lot, but yeah, dude. Okay, so coming in at number 3, we have the literal cheat code for lock-in units. And of course, it's going to be UG4. So basically, as we all know, if his gauge is full, right, you can obviously, attempt to force the lock-in to activate. And then, of course, get the opponent to waste the lock-in and or waste an ultimate if it's Ultra UI sign. So here's the thing. For Broly, it will still do damage, but he can't really follow that up with anything since, again, it's a full gauge. And for UI Sign, it'll waste the ultimate. But now the thing is that with G4, right, when he has a full gauge and you switch into him, it will actually bypass the lock-in ability, since the lock-in ability is called Cover Change Prevention. That's what it's called in their kits. And it's literally just that. It prevents cover changes, special cover changes, and basically just prevents you from switching altogether. So, but the thing is that with UG4, right, he straight up just doesn't have a cover change at all whatsoever, special cover change with whenever his gauge is full, because the gauge takes priority over it, especially in this scenario. Thus, his gauge will counter, and UI Sign and or Broly cannot lock him in. So this is another way to prove that, UG4's gauge is a lot more broken than most people think at first. And the thing is that you basically cannot do anything but rush him at that point, or luckily get a feint or paralysis prior to the gauge filling up. But yeah. So coming in at number 2, Ultra UI Sign's unique gauge. Now, what people already know about this unit is that he can use some of his gauge to dodge and evade strike and blast arts. Plus, he can also evade most forward charging arts cards as long as they're not ultimates while receiving an attack. So like if he's in the middle of being comboed, he can get out of it. However, the thing is that people most often misunderstand about UI Sign would be his unique gauge activation count. So it only activates 3 times, and when I mean by activate 3 times, the count, so it counts as 1 activation, right, when there's no more gauge, like when there's not a sufficient amount of gauge to enable or to proc a certain dodging mechanic. So if it does not have enough gauge to do anything, right, to do dodging or to counter, well, not counter, but evade actions while receiving an attack, then that would count as 1 gauge activation, and slowly or gradually fills up while he's on standby. So, plus you can use his main ability to get that filled up, and yeah, that's also a big help. And yeah, so now because I've still seen people trying to float around just waiting to get a dodge after the gauge has disappeared, which I'm surprised that people don't look at how much unique gauge they have, especially one is the emptying out kind of gauge. So yeah, and this is also in GodTube. So we're watching God rank players screwing up like this, and also from my experience in God rank PvP. So anyway, coming in at number 1, the biggest misconception. The biggest misconception out of all of them currently would be UG4's Blast Darts nullification. Now, what a lot of people think is that his special move or blue card and ultimates nullify Blast Darts. Now, however, this is true, but however, the thing is that a lot of people don't understand the why behind this specific mechanic, and the main reason why people think so is to specifically counter Ultra Gohan's blast armor nullifying blast darts, which if you've played PvP or even watch PvP, right, or have any little bit of clue on what's going on in the meta, you know that this ability from Ultra Gohan is super annoying. Well, Ultra Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, because it's the only Gohan Ultra in the game. But yeah, so that's what a lot of people think. Now, that may partly be true, but the larger reason is because of his gauge. Now, here's the thing, right? If his gauge is full, right, and he goes for an ultimate, right, if he did not nullify Blast Darts, right, his gauge would actually take priority over Blast Armor. So, even if Gohan did not have a Blast Armor nullifying card, right, dude, it would still somehow it would still cause UG4, right, to use his gauge over his ultimate's blast armor. So therefore, to prevent that from happening, right, the game decided to be nice for once, and to prevent UG4 users from wasting their blue cards and their ultimate arts cards, they basically gave you the ability to nullify those cards, any blast darts, with your blue card and with your ultimate, so that when you charge in with them, your gauge will not be affected by it. And even if your opponent PVs, you still have the gauge left to evade any counter attack. So yeah, the more you know. Anyway, that's all for today. Hope you've enjoyed all this useful information. I actually put a lot of effort into making this. Thus, I would like a favor. Just like, subscribe, and share, and leave a comment so I know how y'all really feel about my content. And also, if you're new, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a daily upload. Also, make sure to leave a comment if you're newly subscribed so I can add your name to the subscriber shoutout video. We have over 30 people who have, been added to the list, and it's been extended till the end of this year, so December 31st at 11:59 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, anyway, well, that's all, folks. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll probably just leave up the rest of the fight for you. And Mr. Gogeta out.
Not bad. 200 times, 1,000 times!